I remember about 2 months in after my surgery, and I explained about the excruciating pain that I was still experiencing and some of the sensitivity from, I guess, nerve damage. And he says to me, well, I haven't experienced that in my practice. It's time for you to go back to work.
Welcome to LCFA's Living with Lung Cancer, Ask Me Anything podcast, where we have real conversations with people living with lung cancer. Learn from personal journeys and expert insights. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.
This is Living with Lung Cancer, Ask Me Anything. I'm Annabelle Gurwitch, your host today. On this podcast, we're having the kinds of conversations that I wish I'd been able to have when I was diagnosed. We're sharing practical strategies as well as talking about the emotional impact, advances in science, community building, our challenges, and even how we're cultivating joy while living with lung cancer. If you're a patient, caregiver, you belong here. Welcome to Living with Lung Cancer, Ask Me Anything. I'm Annabelle Gurwitch. This podcast is brought to you with help from my friends at Lung Cancer Foundation of America. And on this show, we're going to be having conversations that are the kinds of conversations that we have when no one is recording. So today, my guest is Colette Smith. Colette, you are a professional, you're a mother, you're a grandmother, and you were also, like me, living with lung cancer, so we've got lots to talk about.
We do. Let's get it started.
So for the topic we're going to talk about today, I've got a little story for you. So not long after I started my treatment, after I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, EGFR mutated, so I was able to go onto a biomarker-targeted therapy. I was single, and I met someone who seemed undeterred by my diagnosis. And the minute we started dating, I started getting UTIs. And I asked my oncologist, is this related to the medication? I was assured it wasn't. Then I get my second UTI and my third UTI. And then it's like 2 months in and I have a continual UTI. And I'm like, this is killing my vagina. Are you really sure there's no connection? I was told there was no connection. And what I was advised was just stop having sex. And I was like, that is the advice? I'm 60 years old. I've met someone who I have stage 4 lung cancer. I'm really excited about this. And you're telling me not to have sex. So this is my way of saying we're going to talk about the side effects of living with lung cancer. And we have a unique perspective because I have side effects and toxicities associated with a TKI, with a biomarker-targeted therapy. Your experience is you've had side effects associated with the surgery you had. So we've had different kinds of ways of being affected. So if you're sorry, I'm sorry,
You're fine.
So we've had different ways of being affected. So if you're watching the show or listening to the show, I hope you will find something in our stories that you'll relate to and speak to, and we'll also be giving tips at the end of the episode about how we mitigate these things. So, okay, Colette, you had surgery not long after you were diagnosed. How was that recovery, and how is that still affecting you 10 years later?
First of all, I want to say something about being diagnosed in early stages. Everyone assumes you're okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I
Even
hadn't
in
thought about
groups where I'm among other lung cancer survivors. Oh, you're stage 1A. You're the anomaly. You're okay.
Huh. Oh my God, did you just feel I did that? Did you just feel I was like, I'm stage 4 and you're stage, oh my
Absolutely
gosh.
not. No.
Okay.
I'm using the opportunity to share and to perhaps lend some light on what it feels like on the early side, quote unquote.
Yes.
Surgery is a big deal. Having a lobe removed is a big deal. It slows me down in a number of ways, but not only slows me down, there are side effects that I have to live with. I've learned now for the rest of my life. Side effects that could be from scar tissue. I have seasons where I go through stages of not being able to breathe normally, where I explain it to my physicians. I say I can inhale, but it's the exhale. Everything doesn't come out.
So when you talk about like the way that this affects your breathing and the seasons, I mean, so this isn't something that is like you close that chapter in the book.
No, it's never closed. The symptoms have never left since maybe I would say about after the first year. I began to notice the symptoms, and even after several conversations with my pulmonologist, my cardiothoracic surgeon, unless something is detectable via a scan, I've found that it's hard to offer an explanation.
And there's also, we know, a big underreporting of side effects because none of us want to be taken off these medications. If the medication is working, we want to stay on it as long as possible. So this was, you know, in that little story that I was telling you at the beginning, that was the tip of the iceberg for me for the communication with the doctors and also the way that I understood what these side effects were with the TKIs. So, for instance, the UTIs. When, as it was explained to me, you know, when people first started taking this medication, sexual dysfunction side effects were not top of mind. When all the treatments were chemotherapy, radiation, people just weren't really thinking about that. So there wasn't a lot of study into that. Also, when I was first going on the medication, I called my doctor 3 days into taking the medication. I said, my skin is on fire, I'm waking up, and I've got blood on my arms and legs because I'm scratching so much. And my doctor said, well, we don't have any patients that have that rash that early in treatment. And I realized later, so first of all, I had the rash. I mean, there it was so painful. One of the reasons why my doctor wasn't aware was because of underreporting. So I started out on the medication at 80 milligrams, which is the dosage people are started out. No one told me that if I had really extreme side effects, we could lower the dosage and it might still be effective. And, you know, this is an ongoing conversation. We really need to have this. There's a lot of thought, and there's some possible change happening about what's the right dosage to start people at. If people are interested in this topic, you can go to a website called The Right Dose. It was started by some breast cancer survivors looking at the same kind of issue because people don't want to report the side effects of the biomarker targeted therapies because they don't want to be taken off it. They don't want to be, they don't know necessarily, like I didn't know, that you could have your dosage lowered. It wasn't until I had such extreme gastric effects, I had such extreme diarrhea that I couldn't leave. Not only could I not leave my house, I couldn't leave the bathroom. And my son found me passed out in the bathroom. I hadn't made it on time. And that was when I said to my doctor, okay, I don't think this is working for me. I was so terrified, Colette. I didn't know we could lower the dose. We halved my dosage, and I've been stable for 5 years at this lower dosage. And I am clearly able to leave my house. Now, sometimes I'll be with a group of people who are on the same drug as me, in the community of advocates. I was at one of our lung cancer world conferences, and I'm sitting with this beautiful group of people from all over the world, and we're all talking about how we carry Imodium with us. And one person said, he rides a bike, he lives in Australia, and he said, I carry a map of where all the public bathrooms are in my little town.
That's funny.
And, you just wouldn't know to look at us. We don't look like we're affected. But these things, if you can't leave your bathroom, how are you going to go to work? These are the things that are like the invisible things, like I look great. I am struggling because I can't get out of the bathroom. These are things, this is why the community is so important, because we need to be able to talk about it, and we need to talk about how we talk to our doctors about it.
There are a couple of things that you said that's taking me back to similar conversations that I had with my cardiothoracic surgeon. Mm-hmm. I remember about 2 months in after my surgery, and I explained about the excruciating pain that I was still experiencing and some of the sensitivity from, I guess, nerve damage. And he says to me, well, I haven't experienced that in my practice. It's time for you to go back to work. I don't think it was an insensitive thing. I think, like you said, he's a humanitarian, but he's focused on doing what he did for me 2 months prior, which was the surgery.
Right.
Again, I had to use my voice.
Every week on Living with Lung Cancer, Ask Me Anything podcast, we explore questions that matter most to people living with lung cancer. We talk about new treatments, everyday challenges, new research, and we share the stories of patients and caregivers who are finding hope and strength. If you want these insights delivered straight to you, subscribe on any of the podcast platforms or go to lcfamerica.org. And if you know someone who could use some understanding or encouragement or both, share this program with them. And don't forget to subscribe. Now, back to our conversation. So one of my mentees has, she's on the same drug as me. She has really terrible rash. She gets welts on her head that she has to be mitigated by having injections with liquid in them. And when for the first 2 days, she says she looks like the Elephant Man. She just blows her head up. It's just so difficult. So she's on a telehealth appointment with her oncologist, who she doesn't always see because he's not always available. She sees the nurse practitioner because she's stable in her treatment. But she's explaining to her oncologist on this telehealth appointment, what is there an alternative to what she's on? And he says, I have patients who have worse side effects than you. I know, I can imagine, because he's a humanitarian. He's not thinking about how that's impacting this one person whose head is swollen. And, when I talked to her about, what do you say? How do you deal with that? I think it's interesting because she was saying, I just don't want to go back to him. And I said, maybe this isn't the right doctor for you. I think we all have to think about these trade-offs, because you're not going to get everything from one person, right? I said, maybe you can think about saying, I know that's true, but that's not really helpful to me right now. I mean, what would you do?
Well, Colette? I had a situation with my former pulmonologist.
Former,
yes,
being the
former,
operative word,
and he was explaining to me, because I have several nodules still in my body, and he was explaining to me what nodules look like when they're gravitating towards blood vessels, and he was really providing some really good information. And one of my questions, why do the nodules keep reappearing and disappearing?
Right.
And his explanation was, this is what happens when you smoke.
Oof.
First of all, no one deserves cancer, whether or not you're a smoker.
Yes.
And
Oh my gosh.
and what a thing to say.
Yeah.
As a physician.
Yeah.
That to me was enough for me to say, this is not the practice for me.
Yeah.
And I said that. I said, I don't think that you're going to be able, I'm going to feel comfortable continuing this relationship with you.
Right.
And he was apologetic, and I appreciated that. However, that's not someone that I want to oversee my care.
Okay, I just remembered something with a former oncologist of mine. I at one point said that I wanted to get a second opinion, and I wanted to get a second opinion. This was to do with the UTI situation. Okay, he's a male, and I actually thought, this is before I met Nargis Flores, who told me about this connection. So he's a male, and I thought, well, maybe I will do better if I talk to a female oncologist. So I wanted to see someone else within that same hospital system, but you have to get a referral within the system. So I needed him to write me a referral. So I said, I want to get a second opinion from this other doctor who happened to be female. Now, I didn't say to him, that's why I wanted that. But what he said was, I don't think your case is worth her time. And I was so shocked. And I think what he meant was, but you're doing great. You're stable. I think he thought he was saying something I heard in a completely different way.
I get that.
I heard, you're not worth it. She's a really busy doctor. And I just couldn't overcome that. And so that's my former oncologist.
I get that.
Oh, okay. So much to talk about. I want to talk about something we were talking about. So we've talked about this, you and I, privately. All right. The anxiety of living with lung cancer, whether you're stage 1A, you're stage 4. This doesn't mean you have stage 4 anxiety or stage 1 anxiety. We all have anxiety. The other day, my oncologist nurse practitioner, who I love, let me just say, I love these people so much. He said to me, though, I was saying something about, I'm writing a new book about living with existential dread of living with a chronic disease. And he said, oh, do you have existential dread? I was like, what? He said, you're stable. I said, I'm stable. I'm also 5 years into a TKI that I know will, at some point, my cancer's going to figure this out. I'm going to have to switch to a second line. So do I have existential dread? Why, yes, I have some existential dread. And, it just hadn't occurred to them because they're looking at the numbers and everything. And so I want to talk about how you deal with your anxiety.
One of the things that I do to escape the anxiety, because I escape it only momentarily.
Yes, it's always there. It's something like, it's not, even if it's not top of mind, right? It's in the very back of your mind that you are
right
living
here,
with this.
over my shoulder, right here.
There.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's acts of service. I currently take care of 18 New York City street tree beds. I plant, I clean, I beautify, and for me, it creates an environment of healing, not only for myself, but for my community. And as they shower me with appreciation, it encourages me. Gardening takes me to another place where I can forget cancer that's hanging over here on my shoulder.
Yes, I love that. You and I have so much in common. One of my happy places is, I'm here in New York right now to do this volunteer project I do called the Campfire Project. We create therapeutic arts for young refugees in seeking asylum. So I lead writing workshops, and we create theater and music and dance. And when I am doing this project, and when I'm doing that kind of service, I don't have time to be Annabelle Gurwitch living with cancer. I'm just there to give back. And I honestly thought that lung cancer was going to take that from me. When I started treatment, I had been for many years a volunteer at my local high school, working with seniors on their college essays. And I was, our program that we do changed their requirements, and I had to be fingerprinted to participate in the program. My fingerprints disappeared from the medication that I take.
Wow.
It's an unusual side effect, but when that happened, I couldn't do that anymore. And I thought, oh my God, I hate you, lung cancer. You're taking away my happy place. For me, this is one of the biggest ways I tackle my anxiety with cancer, is giving back. And, you know, we also have a lot of that being modeled for us in our community. There, you know, a number of people who've been diagnosed have started organizations and are patient advocates, and they're doing that also to give back. And that is just one of the most important strategies that I have.
And even if not starting an organization,
yes, not everyone has to start an organization. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Connecting yourself with one. My oncologist, Dr. Colette Smith, the humanitarian extraordinaire, when she heard some of the challenges I was having, she connected me with Mount Sinai's Community Advisory Board. It's been an amazing experience. I commit myself to service to that community, and it makes me feel purposeful.
Yes,
if you will.
And both of us work. It's not. But it's a very different thing.
It is.
And it is one of it's one of my big strategies. You know, the other thing I wanted to talk about is asking for help and support. So it's actually been a year now. I was diagnosed with a second cancer. Wow. And so it was a stage 0 breast cancer. When that happened, I was like, okay, really? Like, okay. okay. I kind of have to be I always say I'm a cancer slacker. I don't want to achieve at cancer. I'm like, I think I'm overachieving now. I had a moment where it sort of took my breath away, even more than lung cancer. Like, oh, okay, a second thing to deal with. And I actually had a lumpectomy. I've carried on. I'm doing great.
And that's good to hear.
Thank you. But when that happened, I really lean on a lot of our community. But I thought I need some extra help, and a friend of mine said, "Why don't you call the chaplaincy service at the hospital? You could, you qualify for that. Take any help you can get. Take any help you can get." One of the things we know, on another podcast, I want to go deeper into side effect and mitigation of side effects, in particular with various different therapies people are on, because there's some very specific things that people can do for that to mitigate that. But in general, I wanted to talk about how this has been my experience. Mitigation for side effects, like I get muscle cramps and I have issues that are not covered by health insurances. And I wanted to ask you about things that you do and what your experience has been with that.
Okay, good question. So after experiencing all of the difficulties and side effects after the surgery and the constant back and forth with my physicians, I sought care of my own with a massage therapist. And after 6 months of that therapy, I found a formula that works for me. And that is something that's not covered by my health insurance plan.
Right.
But it's something that I do because it gives me relief. So that has worked for me.
When you say that, I think it's really important for people to hear this, and one day I would like to find a way to address that in some kind of advocacy, because the actual mitigations that help us. I've found some acupuncture helps. The massage is one of the few things that helps me. A really deep massage, where muscle cramping is a very common side effect from TKIs. And it's not covered by our health insurance, which is really a lack of understanding. It really, yeah, it's shocking. It's a lack of understanding of how profound the side effects are. And we'll have to figure out how we can, work towards addressing that. But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring that up is, it's also, all these issues are interconnected. That costs money.
It does.
And
time.
It's really, there's a really big impact for that. You also have to have time. You have to be able to have time to be able to do those things. You have to have money to do those things. And you have to have some knowledge that might help. And if we can counter one thing today, it's in sharing our experience too. And this is one of the reasons why the community is really important. I often turn to the Facebook website for the EGFR resistors, because all of us are on the same drug, or many of us are on the same drug. And so going into the chat room and saying, do you have this? What do you do for this? It can be really helpful. So turning to the community if you're having side effects, and finding out what other people are doing, because our doctors just don't always know that stuff is happening. So I want to urge people to, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for being a guest and sharing your experience, Colette. Wait, before we end though, anything else you want to add? Any other thing about side effects?
I have a little nuance.
Oh, yes.
Something I'd like to share.
I love
and
nuance.
I have a little gift for you.
What?
And
what?
I'm going
What?
to explain this in a minute. And this is
I hope it's a massage.
Wait.
Is there a massage in your
No, this is something that I carry around with me.
Okay, what is that?
This is not your gift, but
Okay, I get it.
It's condensed milk. And if you look at the can, there's an expiration date somewhere.
Okay.
And this condensed milk reminds me of my childhood and a recipe my mom used to, this dish, it's porridge. We're Caribbean people, rice porridge. And this was a major ingredient in that. And so that gives me some kind of comfort that my mom is still here with me. But it's also a reminder of life and how sweet it is. And how important it is to know that we have an expiration date.
Yes.
So we must live.
Yes.
We must live. My son went to Antigua for about a week, and I made a request of my sister, and it was for moments like this.
Yes.
I wanted to share.
You're giving me some of that porridge, because that sounds so good.
Look what I got you. A mini can of condensed milk, so that you can walk around with that in your purse or wherever you want, to remind you of how sweet life is. Life has an expiration date.
Love it.
And I hope it's something that you can physically carry with you to remind you that life is worth living, and you got a lot of it left in you.
Oh, I love that message. I think one of the things I want to say, Colette, is the acknowledging we have an expiration date can sound to some people like a profoundly dark thing. For me, this experience, my journey, has also reminded me of that in a way that encourages me every day to get up and engage with the world. Knowing that we have an expiration date can also be really empowering and a great reminder to keep connecting. And I'm with you on that. I'm not sure how long this is going to last in my bag, because I love condensed milk. And one more thing I want to say is, one thing you and I also have done to mitigate our side effects and our anxiety is make enjoyment of life a really big priority. And for me, when I got diagnosed, one of the very first thing I did was I said, why aren't I eating bread? I had given up bread, for like to fit into certain pants. And I'm now like, oh, fuck that. I'm eating the bread. I'm eating the dessert now. I'm an everything in moderation person. But, condensed milk, a little pudding, some sort of creamy dessert, I'm all for it.
For me, it's cheesecake and oxtails.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening and watching. We're going to have more information about this show and things we're talking about at LCFA's website. You can go to my website, AnnabelleGurwitch.com. And I urge everyone, connect with the community. An empowered patient is a patient who has better quality of life. Talk about these taboo subjects. Reach out to all of us. I know all of us are available to you. And if you like this show, leave a little comment and leave a little rating on Apple, whatever it is, and subscribe to our podcast. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Colette. Oh, this is the best. Thanks for listening to Living with Lung Cancer, Ask Me Anything. I'm Annabelle Gurwitch. If today's conversation helped you, follow, subscribe, share this episode with someone who might need it. Together, we can change the way we talk about lung cancer. And if there's a lung cancer related topic you want us to explore, let us know in the comments. Find out more at lcfamerica.org. You can find me on the socials or at my website, AnnabelleGurwitch.com.